We have an incredible panel here assembled today. In my opinion, probably the top three nonprofit consultants in all of Canada, and I'd like to introduce them. The first one is Brad Quinn. He's a partner in the consulting firm of TNG, which he started just 20 years ago. The company focuses on providing governance and leadership support for nonprofits. Brad Quinn, come on up. An accomplished speaker, facilitator, and management consultant, Erin is an expert in the business of not-for-profits. Come up, Erin. Our last panel member is Jack Shand. He's Executive Partner, Leadership Consulting and Search for the Portage Group. Welcome, Jack. We're going to give each of the panel members 2 to 3 minutes to just give a little overview of their experience, what they've observed in the world of associations, maybe now and in the future. I'm going to start to my left, Jack.
All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here. Thinking about what are those issues that associations are facing, those in organized real estate and indeed beyond. So universal questions and issues that are in common. I think almost every association out there is very much preoccupied about its future survival. Thinking about, is the pay-to-play model of membership dying, or at least sunsetting? They're looking at various competitive threats. Increasingly, we're seeing businesses that are running nonprofits, nonprofits running businesses, and a whole raft of different competition that's beginning to emerge for these organizations. Universities, educational institutions, for example, rolling out a freemium model of education, essentially providing their university and other curriculum free online. After this session, you do a Google search on free university courses, you'll see loads of examples. Succession is going to be a key issue. We'll probably talk about it today, and it's not just an issue of kind of who's next, but what's next. What are those competencies? What are the major issues our organizations are going to face? And are we going to be able to attract and retain the necessary talent to help our members and our boards deal with those issues? That is also a highly competitive environment. We look at compensation in the nonprofit sector. I would suggest organized real estate is probably at average, maybe a little bit below. And as we try and attract new talent into many of the jobs that will open up in the not too distant future, we're going to have to think about what is necessary to bring in the skilled leadership that many organizations are going to require. So I think those are probably some of the key issues. One final point I'll leave you with. Increasingly, organizations are thinking about how important it is to be nimble. We value democracy in our organizations, membership organizations. We're built on consensus. We want to know what members are thinking. Unfortunately, our competitors don't have that issue. They can quickly go to market when they see an opportunity. You're waiting for your next annual meeting, you're waiting to consult members, build consensus, and opportunities are lost. So some associations, it may seem heretical, are beginning to think maybe we have to look at the Costco model. So they get to pay to get in, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they come in and tell us how to run our business. So I know that's a little bit of an interesting thought to leave you with, and I'm sure we'll hear lots more over the next hour.
Thanks, Jack. Brad, take it away.
Yeah, first of all, I think I'll start off with an acknowledgement that I've seen a real positive change in the conversation that's been occurring in associations, and a lot of my work is in not-for-profit associations, member-based, trade, professional associations, similar to that we find ourselves in real estate. A lot of the conversations that I was accustomed to hearing in the parking lot or in the hallway after board meetings, I'm actually starting to see those conversations take place inside the board meetings, which is a very encouraging sign. They're not always easy conversations, and to my experience in the last couple of years, the types of directors that are finding themselves on the boards of these associations seem to be up for the challenge of having these more difficult conversations and doing so in a respectful way. So I think it's an acknowledgement to the caliber of the people that are putting their names forward, such as yourselves, to find yourselves on the boards of directors. Governance is something, you think back to 2005, governance has been the topic of concern, and it's our area of practice mostly. And I think for the first part of that decade, there was a lot of talk about it, and I'm now starting to see that there's actually a translation of some of the principles and the the concepts of good governance, of good stewardship, especially when you're thinking about member resources, actually starting to see some structural, fundamental change inside associations on to how they organize their governance. There's been a lot of tension about moving away from a representative composition model, getting away from having one member, one voice, or having every constituency have a seat on the board. So that was their way of making sure people were engaged. A lot more acceptance and full understanding, appreciation for the value of having qualified directors and using other mechanisms to bring those voices and concerns and issues into the table instead of having one person trying to represent all that. The last point, I think, is a deep appreciation amongst associations, and we evidenced it even here this morning, of the role of evidence, the role of data in making good decisions, whether they're nimble or whether they're longer decisions. We need to, and I've started to see that boards appreciate the value of investing in research, investing in having evidence at the table. Other industries, especially those that are in the public sector and have accountability through to governments, have long accepted the evidence-based decision-making practice, and associations are a little slower to that, but the uptake on that, in my experience, has been good the last couple of years.
Great.
That's a really good point. I want to emphasize that issue about data. One thing that I've noticed with membership organizations is, unlike other types of businesses, most of us do not have a good grip on our data at all. We're hardly tracking any metrics. And in fact, one challenge that I have over and over again is I'll come into an organization and I'll say, well, what's your member attraction rate? What's your member retention rate? And sometimes they don't even know what the question is. And if they do know what the question is, they don't know what the number is. And those are just the absolute most basic metrics that you need to have. You know, I'm thinking back to 10 years ago, if you looked at membership organizations, and like Brad, I work with all different types of membership organizations, some in real estate, some not. 10 years ago, membership organizations were run by a nice middle-aged lady who'd been there for 20 years. She knew all the members and they really, really liked her. And she did exactly what her board of directors told her to do. Nobody worried about the future because they knew the future was going to be exactly the same way as it was today. All of the staff members got paid well, and they could pretty much count on somewhere between 1% and 5% standard increase every year. If you stayed there long enough, you would definitely count on a 100% pay raise. Then 2008, 2009 came along, and things changed. The organizations that were already doing well, that were already operating like a business, barely felt a bump. I've looked at those guys out there and they hardly felt it at all. They just went steaming along doing exactly what they'd always been doing. But those organizations that were run by those nice ladies with boards of directors who weren't paying any attention, many of them are gone now. Others are bumping along the bottom. They've run through their reserves. And then we've got some in the middle, and we've got a new generation of leaders that are thinking differently. I think Brad's absolutely right. Data, knowing our numbers, is a key to the future. We are all businesses, and if we don't understand the numbers of our businesses, and that includes the board of directors, it's not just about reading the financial statements and finding out whether we've got money in the bank. It's what are our trends? What's happening to our membership dues? Are they going up? Are they going down? What do our relationship metrics look like? In terms of what money we've got in the bank, reserves are a challenge. I think in real estate, I'm seeing things in better shape than I'm seeing it elsewhere, but for the most part elsewhere, reserves for organizations, they've got 3 to 6 months of operating in the bank. How long is that going to last you if you run into difficulty? So the trend that I've seen over the course of the last 10 years is people are thinking more like a business. 5 years ago, if I'd walked into a room of membership organizations and I said, membership organization is a business, has to be run like a business, we have to make money, we have to put money away for an investment in the future, and if we run into a rainy day, I would say 10 to 20% of the room would be nodding their heads and everybody else would be rolling their eyes. Now it's the other way around. I'm finding that most of the room is getting it, they're on top of it, and a new generation of leaders is starting to think a whole lot differently. I think our challenge going forward is we are now thinking like a business, we have to start acting like a business. We need the data in order to operate properly. We need the right people at the board of directors that are asking the right questions, are well informed when they come into the room, and they're thinking about the future. Where are we going over the course of the next 10 years? So we're operating like a business. We've got the data. We've got the right people on the board of directors. We're giving them the right information in order to make the right management decisions. And let's not forget, we're still a membership organization. So we can't lose that sense of belonging that makes people want to come out and be engaged in things. So we've got to be a business with a sense of belonging.